Deaf people have difficulty getting hearing people to view them as visual people rather than as people who can't hear. What I brought is the uncompressed versions of several of the poems that were written by Clayton Valley. And the one that I was thinking would be very useful for your purposes is a poem called Hands, which is signed by a young girl, because one of Clayton's activities before he died, he spent a lot of time working with young children, teaching them how, young deaf children, it's signed in ASL, in American Sign Language.
American Sign Language.
American Sign Language. And what Clayton did was he spent a lot of time with young deaf children, teaching them to express themselves using sign language and poetry. People have studied the use of repetitions for creating hand-shaped rhyme. If you have a signed sequence, uses, for example, the same hand shape, or you have lines of poetry that all end with the same hand shape, and you create what we would call in speech or spoken poetry alliteration and rhyming. If you've got the hand-shape rhyme and or the motion rhyme, what you need to get a hand-shape rhyme is a sequence of signs which are rhythmically unified, like metric phrase in poetry. Rhythm is something that exists in everything. I mean, there's rhythm to golf swing. One of the major differences between speech and signing is that in signing, everything is visible. The face is visible, the hands are visible, so if I send a message to you, my face and hands coordinate, and it's all visible. And since it's all visible, if I modify the movement of my hands to change the velocity or acceleration or whatever, I can set up a pattern, and if I want to emphasize something, I can break that pattern for prominence. There's 14 articulators on the hands, on the face, head, and body. And then there's the hands. In the one that I'm going to talk about, there are several elements of poetry. One is the use of space. The poem starts with signing here, signing here, signing here, signing here, then makes the sign for world, which encompasses all of it, and then expresses the last line in dead center. The second thing is that it uses this hand and this hand shape in many of its signs. In fact, in all of its signs, except for the final one. Well, even then, it opens to that final hand shape. So all of the signs in this particular poem have this hand shape.
So you're not actually spelling out the letters in this
this
case.
has nothing to do with English. That's English. What that is one hand shape for each letter of the alphabet. Okay. You have to know English, and you have to be able to spell. People have studied British and Brazilian and French sign language poetry, and they seem to have lots in common. But, of course, all the signs for different words are made differently. It works only for the pronouns I, you, and he, she, or it, and they, okay? And then after that, and here's the Danish sign for tree, and the Chinese sign for tree. This is the ASL sign for tree. If you don't have any idea what that is, you're going to think maybe it's the pipe that somebody's climbing up, that, what do we have, Sylvester and Tweety, that Sylvester the cat is climbing up to get the bird. You learn the language. Okay? It's just like you can have the same syllable in two different languages, and...
But there's no Esperanto for this.
There's something called Gestuno, and it's totally made up and doesn't include most of the sign languages,
Okay.
and is not recognized. It's not a language. It's not
Well,
recognized.
that's
This particular poem then is going to have hand shape alliteration by having the same hand shape. It's going to have movement kinds of rhymes, and it's because there's going to be leaves falling
Mm-hmm.
and snow falling
Mm-hmm.
and flowers waving in the breeze. See, that's the snow falling, the flowers growing, the flowers blowing in the wind, the tree leaves, and so on. They all use the same 5 hand shape. Oh, and he's explaining now how the movement up in one case and down in the other makes a balance on the 2 different sides of the left and right side when he uses those areas of the space for the poem, and how the snow comes down, the flowers grow up, so he balances the upper part of the space with the lower part of space by using the opposite direction of movement. When the signs are up, they move down, and when they're located down, they move up, and everything's nice and quiet. You get the globe, and then you get this forceful expression, which is the sign for poetry in ASL, that last sign that he made. This is sunlight through the window, and how the curtains come in and the dust bunnies blow around, and it's time to get up, and the sun comes in, and the sunlight hits his face, and he's deaf, so noise doesn't bother him, but vision, helps him wake up, and the sun is coming in. Well, for me it's interesting because when I was originally trained as a linguist, I started out as a phonologist, and so
Mhm.
I studied about 200 different languages in American Indian languages, African languages, and Austronesian languages. So I really felt that I knew a language when I saw one.
Mm-hmm.
I knew enough of the different languages around the world, plus I've learned French, Spanish, forgotten German and Russian. When I went to learn American Sign Language, I was an absolute beginner. Starting in 1980, I started filming sign languages around the world. We emphasized not only deafness and sign language as a separate community with their own language and their own culture and their own poetry and their own history
Mhm.
and so on, including films and the historical legend, but also the diversity within the deaf community. There's Asian deaf and Hispanic deaf and so on.
It's a big world.
So this poem is Hands. It's written by Clayton Valley and it's performed by Claudia Jimenez. Hands, what? What are the hands? What are the hands?
Okay.
There's snow which falls gently. There are flowers that grow. Flowers.
Flowers. Oh,
That's
that
the
means
sign
flowers.
for flowers, as
Okay.
opposed to the finger spelling of flowers.
Gotcha.
Flowers grow.
Mhm.
Or she does grow, I'm not sure exactly how she does it. And that starts, remember, at the top and moves to the right. Okay. Hands are what? Snow that falls gently. Flowers that grow. Grass in a row. Blows gently in the breeze. Tree with in all the world, the hands express. You get this real punch at the end, you get this circular movement around, you get that hand-shape alliteration, with all of these signs.
Mhm.
Hands expressing. This is expression with hands, to
Okay, so that's
communicate
the name
the
of this
poetry
poem. This hand.
as hands. And so she starts out, hands, what? What are the hands?
Mhm.
All right, and then the answer is snow falling gently, flowers growing, grass.
Means hands can do this.
This is, hands convey all of this in a visual
So
language.
what the answer is the hands
Hands
are
are-
things that can
These
convey.
are all these things.
So it's really a poem about its own poetry.
It's a
isn't
poem
it?
about hands, and that's
Because
right.
it's about itself.
That's right.
That's really fascinating.
That's right. And then it includes the world, which
Mhm.
includes all this space that's been used, and then dead center. The only true center sign is the final one, which breaks with all the pattern and the round and everything. Dead center in American Sign Language and deaf community culture are the hands expressing. Bye.